What's up, guys? Purpose of this video today is to talk to you about that guy right there. That is the Perrin Lightweight Crank Pulley. I have a 2011 WRX. She's a little dirty on the engine bay, so I apologize about that. Before I go any farther, one thing I want to let you know is that I do not have any editing equipment. So that being said, I'm recording on my phone, and it's going to be all kind of one shot. I might stutter here or there, forget what I'm trying to say, so on and so forth. And again, that is because I don't have any editing equipment. But anyway, that is the only thing that I have installed out of everything that I have. Reason being was my goal was to put on everything at once, just so I had a totally different car when it was done. But the reason I put this on first is because on the forums I read a lot about the lightweight crank pulleys from different manufacturers, and excuse me, heard some mixed comments, both good and bad. So I was like, well, I've already purchased one. I don't want to install that with the rest of the stuff, have it tuned, find out I don't like it for whatever reason, take it off, and then have it mess with my tune, which theoretically it shouldn't, because right now it's on the factory tune. I do not have the access port hooked up to it. And just swapping between that and the original didn't mess with it at all, which is a good thing. It's a good sign. And I don't have any complaints about it, so I think I'm going to go ahead and keep it on there. Well, I am going to keep it on there. And but yeah, it was just kind of trial and error. I wanted to see if I liked it first. If I didn't like it, then I'd put the factory crank pulley back on there and just not use it. But that's not going to be the case. Anyway, this was a lot easier to install than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I figured it would be difficult, but one thing I will tell you, I did not have a problem taking off my factory crank pulley. It came off pretty easy. I know some of them can be pretty hard, especially if you live in an area where you're prone to rust because of water and salt and whatnot that might be used on the road for snow. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, so fortunately I don't have to deal with that. So yeah, my crank pulley came off fairly easy. And the instructions say it is easier to cut the belt off, and the belt they're talking about is the one that goes to the compressor, the AC compressor. But fortunately for me, I mean, once I got back there and kind of pried with my pry bar, because I was thinking I would need to, and it turns out I really didn't need to, it just popped right off with belt and everything. So I did not have to cut the belt. I understand why they say to replace it, and I bought a replacement belt just in case, but I inspected the belt. It looks fine. It is a stretch type belt. It's still holding, it's still got quite a bit of tension on it, so I'm just reusing it, and I have the other one as a backup. So anyway, that being said, it was a pretty easy install. The one thing I will tell you, and I should have known this because I have about 7 years mechanic experience working at a shop. I did work for a Dodge dealership for those 7 years, although it was diesel trucks. That's the only thing I've ever worked on, so I'm still, the whole gasoline thing is a little new, but you know, whatever, it's all nuts and bolts, right? So the one thing that I'll tell you that you really have to pay attention to in the instructions is when you do a final tightening of that bolt down there, the only bolt there is for the pulley, you need, and again the instructions say this, you need to pay attention to where that wrench is. You know, it's good to start at a 12 o'clock position where your wrench handle is starting this way as opposed to over here or like way over here, because it says to make sure that it that you want to watch your wrench that it goes at least 65 degrees, you know. So when your wrench is you know, approximately here, that's approximately 45 degrees, so you want it to go a little farther than that, at the specified torque, of course. The reason I think they do that is for bolt stretch If your bolt stretched on the initial tightening of the factory pulley, then you want to replace it, and they tell you that too in the instructions. Now the reason that is important, and again, this is where I say I should have known this, is because what I did when I first tried to install it is I made a mark at 12 o'clock on the pulley with a Sharpie. I thought, okay, well, if it moves over 65 degrees or more after the tightening, then I know I did it right. The problem with that is you're fighting compression, and that's what I should have known. With that being said, what happens is once you let go after tightening it, the pulley will back off a little bit, or it may jump forward depending on how far you are, where your piston is in the compression stroke. So you need to pay attention to your wrench. So just throwing that out there. And I would have loved to do an install video to show you a before and after and how simple it actually is to replace this. But again, I don't have editing equipment, so I'm not able to do that for you guys yet. But here is the factory pulley. And I gotta tell you guys, I mean, this thing, it weighs a ton compared to the lightweight crank pulley. Yeah, it's just a heavy piece. So you'll definitely notice it once you hold the two in your hand. And anyway, so my opinion on this pulley, based on what I read, I was really skeptical on whether I wanted to use it or not. I heard that it could throw check engine lights, due to thinking there's misfires because it's revving faster and whatnot. Vibration, because there's arguments on whether the factory pulley is a dampener or damper, vibration damper, or what have you. But I got to tell you, I've had this thing up to highway speed, only about 70 so far. I kind of want to get it to 80 just to make sure that it doesn't vibrate at that speed, but I don't have any reason to believe it will after the paces that I put it through. So, but I guess after reading everything I read, I was a little worried, you know, and I kind of exaggerated what I was expecting out of this pulley, you know. And one thing I was very worried about was the fast dips in the RPM between shifts. And what I can tell you with this is that does not happen. I mean, it's a little more, it drops a little faster than the stock would, simply because it is lighter weight. You don't have that that momentum going of the heavier pulley, but it's not as bad, nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. So that's both a good thing and a bad thing, because I was thinking, you know, at a lower RPM shift, just daily driving down my street where the speed limit's like 20, you know, going from first to second, I thought the RPM would drop way down, therefore making it more difficult to shift smoothly. But that is not the case. I assure you that is not the case. But again, this is the only mod I have on here so far, engine-wise. So that being said, I can't go for a drive right now because the vehicle is stick shift, and I'm not going to try and film this and drive stick at the same time, nor is my girlfriend home at the moment. So I do not have somebody to film for me, but what I can do is this. I will get in the vehicle, I'll start it up, and let you guys see what it looks like while it's running. And I've already started this previously, so it's the engine's, the RPMs are at its normal idle when the engine's warmed up, although it's not fully warmed up. But well, now it went back to over 1000 RPM. I had it at about 800 RPM, but it's okay, not a big deal. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a few little revs, nothing major. I just want you guys to be able to see if you're contemplating buying one of these. That way you can get in your WRX, see where the factory pulley and how the RPMs respond to your blips of the throttle versus the lightweight crank pulley that I have installed here. So here we go, just a few little blips. See, it does not drop off that fast. And I'm not one to redline it. There's no benefit in me doing that, so not necessary, especially for what we're trying to achieve in this video. So just pay attention, see how. And again, I'm telling you, I had this hyped up as it's gonna just wrap up there really fast and ramp down just as fast between shifts. And as you can see, it's neither. So is it worth the money? Sure, I like it. I mean, it also helps dress up your engine, but you know, there is a difference. To me, it seems like first gear is a little smoother, almost like I don't want to say like boost comes on immediately, but I mean, anybody that drives a stock vehicle, you can definitely tell at about 3,500 RPM. That's when your spool gets up and going. But I mean, for some reason with this pulley, in my opinion, and I emphasize my opinion, that like especially first gear, it just seems like so much smoother through the rev range as you're getting on it. But again, that's my opinion. So just, yeah, check it out versus yours. It might be more of an exaggerated effect with supporting mods. For instance, I am getting the Cobb downpipe, and I have the Perrin up pipe, the 1.75, because I have a stock turbo and stock headers. So with that, coupled with that, you know, it's supposed to spool a little faster as well, or at least provide better airflow to the turbo. So so I don't know, it might be more of a pronounced effect with that. So anyway, guys, that's it. I'll rev it a few more times and call it good. All right, thanks for watching.